This is the ultimate guide to beat the new Paradox Junction boss fight on round 100 completely solo and unlock yourself the Neutronomic Dark Ops calling card, giving you all the tips and tricks from high round strategies to best augments and to the best weaponry. You're going to want to stick around. And I think it goes without saying, if you do enjoy this video and felt helpful, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for any more future breakdowns you may like. Now, since this isn't an Easter egg guide per se, we will not go over the steps at all and will focus solely on the boss fight. There are two versions of this fight, one in standard and the other in cursed, so today we will be breaking down both versions for you and giving my opinion on the end as which I think is the best way to go, and then from there you can make your own decision. If you want to see my full gameplay of me completing both these fights, please check the videos in the description or in the top right of your screen now, but without further ado, let's get into it. Before we even get into breaking down the boss fight, let's first go through the strategy to get to round 100. First of all, before you load into the match, you want to select the augments I am showing now on screen. The important ones are obviously Guns Up on Stamina Up, Equivalent Exchange on Quick Revive, Turtle Shell with Hardened and Durable Plates on Juggernog, and Armormatic and Condor's Reach on Vulture Aid. These are the important ones, but I recommend you copy all my organs exactly as I am showing them now. You then want to load in with the crossbow with the tri-bolt and explosive bolt attachments. These are going to help with killing zombies in the higher round and is vital for our strategy. And then I will also recommend running any gobblegums you wish to help you set up, but definitely make sure you have a pack with power keg, support group and equipment gobblegums, as these are vital for the boss fight. Also make sure you equip the Tesla Storm Fill upgrade. In saying that, if you're missing any of these, I'll put on shields up to use in the third phase of the boss fight. Now, once in the match, do the Easter egg all the way until the boss fight, leaving the yellow orb alone once it is done. Along the way, continue upgrading the rarity and pack-a-punch level of your crossbow and add light men onto it so you can get extra HP in the strategy. Make sure you get perma-perks from TED Task and also start hitting the box of the ray gun as your third weapon, keeping the blundergat for your second. I found that saving, quitting and reloading to the match sometimes got rid of my third weapon, so be careful, and if it happens, it is easier to get the ray gun on higher rounds from the box than it would be to respin for the crossbows. There's way more weapons. Now, to start the strategy, I will just train around until around round 30 while you get your weapons upgraded, and then after you can officially start the strategy. Before you do, make sure you have shock charges and combat axes in your equipment slots and a discipled injection in case you get trapped or need to avoid dying. In the strategy, make sure you do not, and I repeat, you do not use your field upgrade at any point. If you're in trouble or you're going to go down, use your shock charges, which will stun all nearby enemies, giving you time to heal and get out of that situation, or simply use a disciple injection and buy yourself a new one. This is so it can charge much faster in the boss fight when we need it most. Also, if you're down, make sure you do not use your equivalent exchange and actually use the self-revive, because we want to save these for the boss fight, making it as easy as possible and giving us as many chances as possible. Now, the round 100 strategy is actually fairly simple. It is essentially involves sitting on the ledge in the nuked out version of Nuketown and spamming the crossbow shots and then buying ammo when needed. This round 100 strategy is much faster and easier than the strategy for the cursed version, and this strategy will not actually work in that version at all, so don't even bother trying it in cursed. So essentially, as you can see in the gameplay, I just shoot on this piece of wood continuously as the zombies jump up. They pretty much die before they can hit you, even the mimics. You want to make sure you're aiming for this piece of wood, because I found sometimes aiming at different angles meant you could actually shoot through the ledge and it would blow up and the bolts would hit the bottom of the ground, which means the zombies could get up and hit you and you have to reset, so it can be dangerous. So definitely make sure those bolts are landing on top of the ledge so all the zombies dies. At times though, I found the heavy zombies can creep up and do quite a lot of damage, so if you're ever feeling overwhelmed or swarmed or you're low in HP, just simply turn around and throw a shock charge, as you can see me doing, which will stun all the zombies, and then you can turn back around and continue shooting. Whenever you're out of ammo, drop down, picking up the plates on the ground with Condor's Reach Augment, which will help you stay on top of your plate economy, and then pretty much run straight to the ammo box and buy ammo, avoiding the zombies, especially the heavy ones, like I said, which hit much harder. To do this, you can slide into them, which knocks them over, which only does one zombie at a time, so if it's a pile or horde, I wouldn't do it. Or you can simply just run around them or avoid them entirely. After buying ammo, I like to jump back onto the bus and wait for the zombies to start climbing up, then drop back down and then wall jump back onto the ledge. This helps just to get back up there much more smoothly without getting stuck or potentially trapped. For the dog rounds, simply shoot the ray gun where the red hounds jump up, and when low on HP, move to the buses, heal, and start shooting some of the dogs again, and then go back to the ledge when you need to. After the dog round, you will automatically teleport to the non-nuked out version of the map. When this happens, immediately teleport back to the nuke version. It is much better and honestly works much better for this strategy. This is because you can actually wall jump onto the side of the house onto the ledge in the nuked out version, making it much easier to get up. This doesn't work on the non-nuked out version. For some reason, you can't actually wall jump on that whatsoever, so definitely make sure you're on the nuked out version as much as possible, and then pretty much just repeat the process. Keep spamming your bolts, buying ammo. Luckily you do make the points back, so you'll notice your point economy will actually go up. You will never run out of points during the strategy, and keep doing this until you reach around 100. Now when you reach around 100, just immediately save and quit your game. This is because now we're going to reselect our augments for the boss fight. Before you go back into your game, or even during the high round strategy, make sure you activate the high contrast mode so you can easily see the zombies through walls. This helps a lot in the boss fight, so you can actually see when the zombies move towards that defense ritual, and also just keeping on track of where the zombies are. It just makes it a lot easier. Also make sure you change the following augments, putting the supercharge and fast pitcher augments on, replacing speedy roulette, because we're not spinning the mystery box anymore, and then the mule kick augment swapping free throw with multi-pack, as we no longer need a pack-a-punch, and obviously plate hunter with kickback, because we're not buying any more perks, and the additional plates is a major bonus, especially in the standard version of this boss fight. Once done, load back into the game and complete one more round, saving one zombie around 100. Now once you've done this, ensure your weapons are fully upgraded with fireworks on the crossbow. Make sure you have 3 monkey bombs, all the gobble gums we mentioned earlier, and a disciple injection. Then end the round, and when 101 starts, go right into the boss fight. In the boss fight, the arena will turn green and activate the hard version of the boss fight. The zombies are much faster, they're their super sprinter speed, and they do a lot more damage, and most importantly, they shred your armor if you get hit. So this boss fight is all about avoiding taking as much unnecessary damage as possible by, again, avoiding the zombies entirely or sliding into them to knock them down at just the right time. For the entirety of this boss fight, if you ever have an instance where you have no armor in reserves or on your person, my advice is to train around doing the same loop you do on the damage phase and kill the zombies as much as possible to get armor drops, or at least a decent amount to fill your vest and have maybe few in reserves before returning to the objective you need to do. This is more of a problem in stage 3. As stage 1 and 2, zombies tend to drop armor quite regularly, but in stage 3 it's almost non-existent. So try your best to get at least some armor drops before you go and do your torture zombie or defense in the 3rd stage. Remember to use equivalent exchange when down, and once you use all 3 of your exchanges and self-res, my advice would be to save and quit, and then change your equivalent exchange to Dying Wish, reload in, go another round, and get a second chance. If you fail this time, I don't think it's worth going again, because if you try again, you'll only have 1 self-revive for the entirety of the boss fight, whereas this way you have 4. But for that reason, we do an extra round just in case if the game crashes, God forbid, you still have your game available and can continue right where you left off. To start with phase 1 of this boss fight, you need to feed souls to the assists. It works just the same as it does in the standard version of this boss fight. It's fairly simple. I recommend use the crossbow. The zombies sort of stumble and knock over, and they're quite easy to kill a large amount of zombies in a short amount of time. Again, take your time with this step. Avoid taking unnecessary damage, and do all 3. When you've done all 3, the defense steps will start. Luckily, there's no shock mimics in this phase, so train the zombies together, and you'll find they actually tend to spawn in waves in this boss fight, and you'll know that's happening when the Radhound's dogs start to come back and start spawning. When this happens, use the ray gun to take them out, because you can find they will catch up to you quite quickly, and they'll start doing chip damage at you, so just turn around and sort of shoot them with your ray gun so they don't attack you. Luckily in this phase, also a fair amount of armor will spawn from the zombies, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue in that regard. And then pretty much keep training them around in the center of the map where the buses used to be. And then when you see zombies actually not running towards you and running away towards the defense ritual, this is when you want to sort of cook that monkey bomb, get it ready, and then throw it in the middle of the map on the opposite house, towards the opposite house, and you'll find the zombies will start to move over towards it, leaving the defense ritual alone. This is when you want to run towards where the current defense ritual is, and just sit there when the monkey bomb sort of blows up and the zombies start going towards it. Just defend it with the crossbow. Maybe need to get 1 or 2 zombies off it, and then when that happens, the defense ritual will finish. Now continue this with the remaining 2 rituals. Again, with 3 monkey bombs and 3 rituals, there shouldn't be much of an issue there with no shock mimics to interrupt this this process. Again, though, there's one issue where if you throw the monkey bomb too far away from the rituals, the zombies can ignore it entirely. So that's why I recommend always throwing them in the center of the map. Sure, the zombies don't get as much distance from the ritual, but I find that it's just the safest way, so you're not wasting a monkey bomb. After you finish the other 2, the damage phase will start. This is where you want to use the blundergat and shooting while sprinting. It's very important that it's while sprinting, because if you just take a moment to shoot, the zombies will catch up to you. As you can see as I move around the map, I use the ledges to my advantage. The boxes standing on top of them gives me a chance to shoot the dark heart without the zombies doing unnecessary damage to me. Just gives me a little bit extra time. Essentially, you want to do loops around the arena, almost like a figure 8 around the houses. Keep doing that. Obviously, avoid the fire tornadoes as they hurt a lot, and they shred your armor a lot and do a lot of damage. You'll probably need to slide away from them. As simply running, they can catch up to you quite quickly. And simply, just do a figure 8 loop around the arena as you see me doing now. And then when you do enough damage, you will go and move on to the second phase of this boss fight. So go and buy ammo as needed, because there'll be plenty of points, but obviously when the phase ends, make sure you pick up the max ammo and full armor that spawns. I'm not going to go too in depth in phase 2 of this boss fight, because it's pretty similar to the phase 1. You just use the exact same strategies. Obviously this time you're shooting the other orbs instead of the Siths, so shoot it with the ray gun until you don't get any more hit markers on it. That's when all the zombies are out. Then kill the zombies with the crossbow. Do this for the other 2, then you move on to the defense rituals. Use the monkey bombs just like before. Again, no shock mimics will spawn and sort of interrupt this. Then damage phase, make a figure 8 loop, use the blundergat, shooting while sprinting to get as much damage as possible. Grab the max ammo and full armor at the end of this phase. Again, armor is consistent in this stage, so you shouldn't have too much of an issue. Now this is where we get into the hardest part of this boss fight, and maybe why you clicked on this video. Stage 3 is where it all ramps up. It's actually when mimics will start to consistently spawn with each of the waves of zombies that move in. Luckily, it's only 1, unlike Cursed, but we'll get to that. So whenever you see Radhound spawn, look for the mimic and kill it ASAP, so they don't sort of pile up one after another. I found that the blundergat was the best for doing it, and in a couple shots it would die quite quickly, especially if it hit its critical point. Now, in this phase, the zombies also rarely drop armor in this stage. So if you don't have armor, I recommend training and getting to at least full 3 plates before returning to the objective, whatever you need to do. In saying that though, I did find that if you took too long on this stage, especially with the tortured zombie, fire tornadoes would actually start to spawn outside of the damage phase, which makes it significantly harder, as it can start to obviously chip at your armor and make it much more difficult to manage on top of that. Now, the tortured zombie, in my run, I did it without knowing the strategy. There's actually 2 methods to handle this now. The one I did in my first round 100 completion, which worked, and the other that works much better in my opinion. But I haven't tried it in standard. I've tried it in Curse and worked quite well, so I don't know why it wouldn't work in standard, but I thought I'd just make that known. For the one I did, essentially what you have to do is, for the first one, we'll go through that first, is the closest to Pap. This is the same in both strategies. It's fairly easy. So to train the zombies near where the Pack-a-Punch is, wait for the tortured zombie to spawn. When it does, give it time to move over to where the sort of dark bubble is. When it's close enough, and this is where you use your high contrast and depth perception to see how close it's getting. When it is close enough, run over and kill it. It doesn't have to be with the blundergat, by the way. It can be with anything. It's just your blundergat's good at killing it quite quickly, making sure no zombies catch up to it before it dies. You kill it, that's the first one, quite easy. Now the other 2 are the more difficult ones. Training near Pap and trying to lead to the tortured zombie over to the bubble doesn't really work. You have to be in the backyards as the tortured zombies spawn, while they move over. And you have to be in this backyard pretty much the whole time. But the zombies hit very hard, and this makes it very difficult, also because they're very fast. So what I did, I used Tesla Storm in the backyard only after the torture zombie had spawned, and sort of move over a little, and it sort of stuns all those nearby zombies, which avoids taking damage, allowing it to come over as quickly and take as much time to come over as quickly as possible. Now you can use some monkey bombs for this phase. Just make sure mimics are dead before you use them, as it can disable them. When closer, essentially it's past the car as it moves towards the first one. I like to move to the corner of the backyard. This is because as the torture zombie gets closer, more zombies can start to spawn, and they can sort of connect to your horde that's in the back and make it sort of die out quicker. So that's why I like to move the zombies over to the corner for quite a bit. Between the Tesla Storm and the one or two monkey bombs, you should be able to lead it over quite quickly. Now this is why we actually didn't use our field upgrade for the entirety of the game. You now want to kill zombies to recharge it. It shouldn't take too long, as it hasn't really been used. Then again, repeat in the other backyard. This one, however, is a little easier in my opinion, and that's because you stay sort of in the smaller area of the fence near the bubble. Zombies will come after you, but if you sort of step out of the gate towards the bubble, the zombies actually won't go through that path, and they'll sort of path all the way back around the bubble to get to you. So you can sort of abuse this, moving back and forth, which gives the tortured zombie time to move back over, and also gives you time before you have to use your Tesla Storm. In saying that though, once you're overrun and you're probably going to take it down or whatnot, use your Tesla Storm at the latest moment possible. Again, when the torture zombie is close, I'd say when it's in the corridor leading towards the bubble, go over to the opposite corner where the playground is. Again, this makes sure that sort of it doesn't get any zombies spawning near it, or in its way, or it walks its way over. And then again, when it gets closer, kill it, and this should pass the step. Now this is the more difficult version. The other and much easier way that has been found is using the Disciple Injection. This definitely works in the round 100 version. Still do the PAP one as normal. You don't need the Disciple Injection for that one. But for this strategy, do the same thing and train the zombies around the PAP area. And then essentially when you see the tortured zombie spawn in, run over. Just before you reach it though, I would activate the Disciple Injection so you don't inject it while it's right next to you and kill the tortured zombie. Then sort of speed over, pick up the tortured zombie, and then sort of run it towards the backyard of the house, throwing it on the ground, and then obviously completing that step. Now I have found if you throw it from a distance, it will not count, so make sure you go right within the range it should be, regular needs to be. Make sure you're within that range when you throw it, else it will not work. You could actually do though, both tortured zombies in one Disciple Injection. So basically, after you do your first one, drain the life of the zombies and mimics around you. This will extend the duration of your Disciple Injection as much as possible. I actually did it without extending it, but it was very close. So if you just drain a little bit of the zombie's essence, you should definitely be able to do both tortured zombies in one injection. When the second one spawns, immediately pick it up and bring it over. And then after doing this, you'll do all three bubbles, all three tortured zombies very easily in one Disciple Injection. In saying that, if you can't get it in one, that's why we brought the support group Gobblegum. Activate that, use the Arc CAD, shoot the 3 Mangler cannon shots, and place down the sentry turret, again away from the tortured zombie so it doesn't kill it, and then you'll get another Disciple Injection that you can use to do the final tortured zombie. Now we move on to the final defense rituals. Now these are a little bit more difficult because the mimics actually spawn during this phase. So essentially, as the mimic spawns during waves, we're trying to keep on top of them, so try and kill it as quickly as possible, but pretty much do what you've been doing, waiting for the zombies to move over and then throw the monkey bomb. Just when you throw the monkey bomb, be conscientious of the mimic, make sure it's dead before you throw it, or throw it away from the mimic and kill the mimic before it reaches it. But if you do mess up, this is why we brought the equipment Gobblegum. You want to activate that, and doing this will recharge your monkey bombs, allowing you to complete all three just by being able to throw. You'll be able to throw 2 per defense ritual, meaning you'll be able to complete this much easier. Then you move on to the damage phase, and if you've made it this far, you're pretty much out of the woods, and you can say you're very close to completing this. In saying that, I've had a few close calls in the damage phase, so make sure you're definitely still locked in and prepared to finish this fight all the way. Now make sure you've already switched your field upgrade to Frenzy Guard, as this is much more beneficial in the damage phase. You can use Power Keg for a free Frenzied Guard if you're ever low on armor after you do the Tortured Zombie step. I'd recommend keeping Tesla Storm just in case, even if you're doing the Disciple Injection strategy and then switching the Fence for Frenzy later. But if you just want to go straight to Frenzied Guard, as you don't get many plates in the finals phase, you can do that as well. Now continue doing the figure 8. Again, Fire Tornadoes will spawn, likely 2 of them. The Mimics, you can kind of avoid most of the zombies in this phase, including the Mimics, and just focus damage on the Dark Heart. But once you do enough damage, you will beat the boss, the cutscene will play, and you will unlock the Neutronomic calling card. Congratulations. Now we're moving on to the cursed version of this boss fight, which actually has a different boss fight and heist round strategy, which is slightly longer. Like I mentioned earlier, the crossbow strategy cannot be used with tier 4 PAP, as the ammo costs too much, which means you actually lose points during the strategy, not making it really viable in the long run. You could probably do it for a little bit in the higher rounds if you want to get through some quickly, but it's not the strategy you should be using. Obviously, being cursed, there's sort of less preparation and loadout stuff we need to go through. Make sure you have Tesla Storm equipped and the Power Keg, Support Group and Equipment Gobblegums in the pack to start with straight away, or you can grab them before the boss fight if you want and use other setup Gobblegums as well. Also make sure you set the zombie build for your crossbow with the Tri-Bolt and Explosive Bolt attachments on there so you can get it from the box. And I also recommend setting a Razor 9mm zombie build with the Wildfire attachment if you have it, because it'll pretty much be our point gun for the majority of the match. In terms of augments, select the ones I'm showing on screen now. It's the same as the standard versions. The important ones are obviously Guns Up on Stamina, Equivalent Exchange and Quick Revive, Turtle Shell with Ardent and Durable Plates on Juggernog, and Armormatic and Condor's Reach on Vulture 8. These are the important ones, but I recommend you copy all my augments as I am showing them. Also, since the cursed health cap is increased no matter which tier of curse you play on, it is best to go all the way to tier 3 so you can get the tier 4 pat bonuses and the extra damage. The relics I recommend you use for this are the Teddy Bear Relic, which decreases the round change time, Focusing Zone, not allowing for self-revives, the Spider Fang, not reducing perk prices, the Matroiska Joels, reducing salvage drop rates, and the Boss Relic, giving health regen to enemies. Note this also does apply to the boss, which makes it slightly more difficult as well within the damage phases. Also, any of the Sinister Relics can be interchanged with the Real Sphere Relic. Most of these relics though can be bypassed with TED tasks. Choosing the Real Sphere where you only get 4 perks means you obviously have to do more of TED tasks in order to get all of the permanent perks. In saying that though, with the Focusing Stone, you'll have to continuously doing TED tasks until it gives you a self-revive. In the match, like normal, do the Easter egg all the way until the boss fight, leaving the yellow orb alone once it is done. Along the way, make sure you get perma perks from TED tasks and also start hitting the box for the ray gun as your third weapon. Crossbow is your first, keeping the Blundergat for your second. This is because in the boss fight, crossbow is going to be for killing zombies, ray gun for killing the red hounds, and Blundergat for doing damage to the boss. Also, a little something I learned, don't melee the weapons out of the box, as you can do now, because if you do this, the weapons actually won't have your zombie build on it even when you go to pick them up. So for this case, make sure if the weapon does come in from the box, you pick it up in your hand, else you won't get those attachments. I would use the Razor 9mm wall buy in one of the backyards to train zombies and shoot them to farm points in the earlier and later rounds. So PAP tier 4 is achievable much earlier on in the game. I would just train around and shoot the zombies and sort of buy ammo when needed. Obviously don't upgrade the Razor so you can do more of this. But since we have the Bus Relic enabled, it regens the zombies' health. So after they regen enough health, they will actually give no longer points when they damage. If this starts to be the case in your horde, just kill the whole horde with charged shots of the Blundergat and get a fresh horde and keep farming them for points. If you get in trouble, again, do not use your field upgrade. Do not use your field upgrade at all, as we want to save it for the boss so it can recharge much faster in there. So use shock charge if you're in trouble, and also try to avoid using Disciple Injection though, as salvage is limited. Obviously you can, but I would avoid it if possible. In Curse though, we actually have a trap strategy. When the round starts, train around the zombies, and when you have a full horde, run through and activate the trap, then sit for a bit and run to the backyard, obviously before being overrun by the new spawns. If trapped, use shock charges or the crossbow, or use a Disciple Injection to get out, but again, like I said, we should probably try and avoid this. In the backyard, I like to jump on this sort of stone platform type things and let the zombies jump up. And then I like to jump down, train them around a bit, and run back and slide through the trap, which actually with the Tribiologist augment on PhD means you can avoid this damage entirely, and this allows you to do a second pass to the trap and get more kills. Then make sure you also sit close to the trap, right next to this garage door, so all the zombies will run through and not actually path differently and run around. And then as soon as the zombies start to spawn, jump back on the bus, wait for the zombies to sort of all die in that trap, and then you can maybe bring another smaller horde through the trap, getting a few extra kills. Once this is done, run back to the middle of the map in the center and train more zombies around the buses. Obviously you can jump between the buses, do some loops. It's quite easy to train this area where there's a lot of ledges you can jump on. And then once you do that, try running another horde through the other house now, which has the second trap. Activate the trap, run the horde through. Again, give it a second, making sure you realize all the zombies are coming through and they're not going to path other ways around. As soon as other zombies start spawning, run to the backyard, do another horde in the other backyard. Then, when you have a nice horde and all the zombies die in the trap, bring the second horde through, and then doing this, you get a lot of extra kills. You can then run back up to the center and maybe try bring another third small horde through. Again, I find that it's quite difficult to actually bring a third horde through on this other trap, for instance. Generally only in the first one is where you can maybe get a smaller third horde through. Mimics will actually get stunned and get stopped in the trap. If that's the case, I would think it's worth putting a few shots of the Blundergat into them so they die much quicker. If you can't do that though, it's not a big deal. When they do respawn, because zombies, if you move too far away from them, that's why it's worth staying near the trap. They actually do despawn, even if you're not that far away from them, and mimics are the same. But when they respawn, for some reason, they just run straight to the trap and sort of ignore you entirely. So you can sort of use this to your advantage as well and then kill mimics at the end of the round. But essentially sort of complete this loop moving from trap to trap, because as one trap finishes, the other one sort of regenerates, so you can keep moving trap to trap, doing the same loops in the center, the backyard, and then back to the center, and then obviously moving to the opposite house. You can keep doing this all the way to round 100, where on round 100, it's recommended that you save and quit, so you can put on these boss fight augments. Now before going back into the game, it's recommended that you put in high contrast mode on your game, even if you don't like it. It just makes seeing zombies through walls much easier, which is definitely worth it in the boss fight, as you can see if zombies are running towards sort of the defense ritual or not, and just keep an eye on them and maintain your horde much easier. And then change the following organs, putting the supercharged and fast pitcher augments on speed collar, replacing speedy roulette, and then the mule kick augments swapping free throw with multi-pack and plate hunter and kickback. And then when you go back in, go another round to round 101. Make sure you have the Gobblegums, Disciple Injection, all your weapons are maxed out, including the crossbow with fireworks on it. Also make sure you upgrade it to ultra rarity, everything's tier 4 papped and pretty much as strong as it can be. And then on round 101, start the boss fight. Now in this boss fight, Curse sort of plays very similarly to the standard one in what you have to do. And so the steps you have to do, except this time, it is always in the third stage where there's sort of much less armor drops. So pretty much the entirety of the boss fight, there is not going to be the consistent armor drops that we saw in the standard version of this boss fight, where it was only the third phase where they were limited. But because of this, we have gold armor, which makes it much easier. But anyway, let's go through this phase by phase. From the very first stage of this cursed round 100 boss fight, shock mimics will actually spawn, with one spawning with every wave that comes in. You'll know when a wave starts when the red hound dogs start spawning. And when this happens, kill the dogs and look for the shock mimic and kill it as soon as possible. I like to do it with the Blundergat because it takes 2 or 3 shots and it'll die if you hit the crit spots. You just want to keep on top of your shock mimic, because if you don't, they can actually pile up, and you can have I've seen people have like 9 shock mimics in this boss fight. So definitely keep on top of them as much as possible, killing them when you can. And then pretty much take your time, fill up the 3 cysts like you would do normally, using the crossbow, so they knock those stumble zombies over and they take a bit to get up, so it's not too hard to use the crossbow to kill a bunch. Shouldn't take too long, but again, take your time with it. And then when done, you move on to the defense phases. With the defense rituals, it's a little bit harder this time because there are actually shock mimics you have to worry about. So train the zombies in the center of the map. Again, using the high contrast mode, wait till you see the zombies move towards the defense ritual, and when you see them running over, cook your monkey bomb right when they get there, and they hit it once, throw the monkey bomb. But again, you have to worry about the shock mimics. If the shock mimic, you can either kill the shock mimic before you throw the monkey bomb, or throw the monkey bomb away from the shock mimic and kill the shock mimic before it gets there, although that's a little bit more risky as it might get there and disable it. Once you throw the monkey bomb and the zombie's moving over towards it, run towards the defense ritual, wait for the monkey bomb to blow up, and as the zombies start moving back, you might have to kill 1 or 2 zombies that run it towards the defense ritual, and then after that, it should make it through, no worries. Repeat this for the other 2. Again, keeping on top of your shock mimics, I can't stress that enough. If they do disable one of your monkey bombs though, it can be quite difficult because you'll have to do the defense stage either normally using the crossbow, which can be annoying, or my recommendation would be to use the charge of Tesla Storm, which is why we brought it in as a backup, as safety. Activate it, it'll link the zombies together, it'll stun them, and it'll stop them from hitting the defense ritual. And since we have the augment on that extends its duration, it will essentially do 1 full ritual in 1 duration of Tesla Storm. Obviously, when it's finished, shoot the zombies with the crossbow just to keep it off the ritual for as long as possible. And this is sort of just a backup in case the mimic does shock your monkey bomb. After the defense stage, we're on the damage phase. Works exactly as it did in the standard boss fight. This doesn't change whatsoever, except on curse, because of that bus relic, the Dark Heart actually regens health. So continue doing a figure 8 loop around the map in which you start jump. I like to jump on the ledges of the houses since the zombies have to jump up, which gives you a little bit extra time to hit the crit spots of the Dark Heart. Keep an eye on the glowing spots and deal damage as much as possible. Fire while sprinting with the Blundergat to do as much damage as possible, as the zombies can sort of catch up to you if you don't fire while sprinting, if you take a moment to stand still and shoot. As you can see in my gameplay, I like to jump on top of, like I said, ledges or boxes as I move around the arena. It just gives me a little bit of extra time before the zombies get to me to do some damage. Shouldn't be too much of a difficulty, but again, just keep an eye on the health bar. If you find it's starting to heal, try and find a crit spot as soon as possible and do some damage so it at least stops healing too much. Again, when you do enough damage, we'll move on to the second phase of this boss fight. Pick up the max armor it spawns, but again, because it's cursed, no full armor power up will spawn whatsoever. Now, I'm not actually sure if this was a bug or not, or something that just happened in my game, but in my run, no shock mimics actually spawned in stage 2 of this boss fight. If they do, essentially just manage them like you did in the first stage, being conscientious of when to use the monkey bombs or not, and obviously keeping on top of them, killing them as much as possible, or as soon as they spawn in so they don't pile up too much. Essentially, but stage 2, it's not that different to stage 1, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Move around the arena, do the objective as you need, shooting the orbs, killing the zombies. I find it's best to shoot the orb with the ray gun, as it can get them out quite quickly with the fast fire rate at tier 4, and using the crossbow to kill the zombies. Then doing the defense steps with the monkey bomb was actually easy in the first stage for me because I didn't have any shock mimics. So again, do it like you would do in standard, wait for them to move over, throw the monkey bomb, defend it for a little bit of time, should be no drama whatsoever. The shock mimics again are spawning in your game, just make sure you take care of them before you throw the monkey bomb. Kill the raid hounds and stuff like that when they spawn. If you're ever low on armor, take some time to regen, and it should be no drama whatsoever. Do the damage phase, avoid the fire tornadoes, keep on top of the health bar, do the figure 8 around the map, and again, you should get through stage 2, no worries. At the end, pick up the max ammo, and we can move on to stage 3. Now, by far the hardest stage of this boss fight, in all versions of it, standard, cursed, round 100 versions, this is the hardest phase of the boss fight, period. In this stage, two shock mimics will spawn with every wave, and they spawn quite frequently. This makes it very, very hard to manage, but you have to do your best to kill them as quickly as possible as they spawn, because if 2 are spawning each wave, you can easily creep up to 6 shock mimics at a time, and if that's the case, it's going to be really hard to sort of turn that run around. So definitely try to keep on top of them as much as possible, even as difficult as it is. The torture zombie strategy that we're going to use, we're going to actually train them in the backyard. We're going to train the zombies in the backyard. So not the backyard, in the back where Pack-a-Punch is. Wait for the torture zombies to spawn. Again, you don't get any objective indicator because it's in cursed. So this is where the high contrast mode comes in handy again, where you can see the zombie spawn far away, and you can see its sort of distance from the bubble from a distance. Wait for the torture zombie to move over. When it gets closer, run over and kill it. This should do the easiest one of the three. Then continue training in the back of the Pack-a-Punch room, in the Pack-a-Punch area, sorry. Then when the torture zombie spawns, run over, and I'd say right where the bubble used to be, activate your your disciple injection. While the zombies sort of are attacking you, this keeps them A, away from the tortured zombie, and B, you don't activate your injection next to the tortured zombie, killing it. So once you're in your disciple injection, pick up the tortured zombie and bring it to the backyard bubble and sort of throw it on the ground next to it. This will sort of do that step for you. Make sure though you don't throw it from a distance. I tried throwing the tortured zombie from a distance and it doesn't work. It actually needs to be in the range that its standard range is. You actually need to be in that range as well. If not, it will not work, and it won't. And that's how it will happen in my game. You can actually do both tortured zombies though in one disciple injection. After you do one of the tortured zombies, I would drain the essence of some of the zombies and even the shock mimics, which sort of regens the sort of essence bar of the disciple injection. And then when the next tortured zombie spawns, pick it up, go to the other backyard, and you should be able to get both done in one disciple injection. If you do mess up though and you don't get both, again, you can train in the backyard and use Tesla Storm. If you want, you can use that strategy that I mentioned in my standard version, although it's probably not optimal for a cursed run where 2 shock mimics are spawning with every wave. Personally, I would then honestly use the support group Gobblegum, which spawns all the score streaks. So use the Arc CXD, blow it up immediately, shoot the 3 mango cannon shots, and place the sentry turret back where the Pack-a-Punch is. Don't place it in line of sight of the torture zombie because it can kill it. After you place the sentry turret, you'll get another disciple injection, and you can do that 3rd tortured zombie, no problem whatsoever. Now, probably, maybe, well, it's all pretty hard, but definitely another hard part of this phase of the boss is the defense rituals. This is because there's 2 shock mimics. So that's 2 mimics you have to keep on top of, and 2 mimics you have to kill before you throw that monkey bomb, before the zombies destroy the defense ritual. So, again, keep on top of them, do the same strategy, but this time I definitely recommend you bring in the equipment Gobblegum. You might have to throw 2 or 3 monkey bombs per defense ritual, but this sort of just guarantees that you pass it and you complete it. So don't be afraid to use them. I definitely recommend their equipment Gobblegum. I'd also recommend after you do the torture zombies, you switch to Frenzied Guard and start charging that up, because one Frenzied Guard can essentially can complete 1 defense ritual completely free. And then also you can use a power cake if you want to do that 3rd one or whatnot. So you have plenty of options in terms of the defense rituals, and sort of managing them with 2 shock mimics coming at you. It's a little difficult, but if you use those strategies, you should be able to get it through it quite well. And then you reach the 3rd and final damage phase. Again, it starts healing, so keep an eye on that. Do shots with the Blundergat. Keep moving around. Again, avoid the fire tornadoes. They are lethal. I can't tell you how many times I've downed because I got in their way, or they sort of trapped me and they slowed me down, and it was almost a game over. Your equipment actually should be still active in this phase if you used them for the defense step. So don't be afraid to throw monkey bombs every now and again, even just to get the zombies off you for a second before the shock mimic destroys it. To be honest, with 2 shock mimics spawning every wave, I wouldn't focus them for this damage phase. I would just continuously do as much damage to the boss as possible. Use Frenzy Guard if you're ever low on armor. Use that power keg if you haven't already. And then eventually, when you do enough damage, you will beat the boss. The cutscene will play. Congratulations, you beat the Paradox Junction round 100 cursed boss fight. Perhaps one of the hardest things you can do in this game. And you will unlock the Neutronomic calling card. Congratulations. Now, I just wanted to quickly go over my thoughts regarding the both versions of the boss fight. If you want, you can skip this part if you'd like. I'm just sort of going through the pros and cons of both of them and which I recommend you should use, and from that you can sort of make an informed decision of which one you want to try. But let's quickly go over the pros and cons of each version of these boss fights. Putting the tortured zombie aside, since with the disciple injection you can pretty much get through this now with no problem whatsoever. So to start, in the standard version of this boss fight, the first two stages are much easier compared to any parts of these other parts of these round 100 boss fights, both cursed and standard. The high round strategy is faster and much easier, as that ledge strategy, much easier to use, it goes much quicker, and you don't have to worry as much. You do get full armor drops, which is helpful, but it's sort of a compensation for not having that golden armor. Mimics are only in the third stage of the boss fights. You don't have to worry about them whatsoever, pretty much for the start. But moving into the cons, the third phase has significantly less armor drops. And if you look at my round 100 run, you see times where I'm just running around constantly just trying to avoid getting hit because I have no armor and I'm like a 2-hit down, killing the dogs, killing the armored zombies, the mimics, just trying to get any little piece of armor plate that can sort of just give me a fighting chance in the tortured zombie step. But just in general for the third stage. So that can be quite annoying. And then obviously leading on from that, there's no golden armor to regen armor consistently. This sort of means you don't get many opportunities to actually do the objective because you're just constantly moving around waiting for armor. Now, onto the cursed version. You do get golden armor, which regens it consistently. This means you actually have more attempts at going for the objective, because in standard, if you don't have armor, there's not really a point of trying to do the defense ritual or trying to do the tortured zombie, because you're likely going to go down without having any sufficient amount of armor, because one hit takes pretty much one armor plate. So because you have gold armor and it regens consistently, you have less downtime between what you're trying to do, and you can see that in my runs. The cursed boss fight is significantly shorter than my standard version of the boss fight. But there's a few cons with the cursed one. It's more difficult and a longer round 100 strategy to do, so it takes more time. The boss can regen health in the damage phase, which if you look at my run, I got it down to 1 HP, and then I had to sort of stay alive and move around, and this meant it pretty much healed back up to a quarter, which means I had to do a lot more work. Zombies have more health and are harder to kill. This method makes it difficult to stay on top of them. The third phase has significantly more shock mimics, and this is probably the biggest downside I would find in Cursed. Spawning 2 shock mimics a phase is absolutely ridiculous, and it made it very hard to stay on top of it. I think if you look at my run, I barely managed, so that's the biggest downside, and of course no full armor drops within the fight whatsoever, which means you never really have any reserve plates, or at least not too many. But as someone who has beat both versions of the round 100 boss fight, I have a few opinions on which one is easier and maybe best for you. In my personal opinion, I had a considerably easier time in Cursed. This may be because I had the disciple injection strategy for it before. When I did the standard one, it had not yet been discovered. I haven't used the disciple injection in standard version, so if I did, maybe I'd find that version easiest. However, in my run of the standard version, phase 3 of the boss fight was the hardest part of it, and the torture zombie part was the hardest part of it. So I feel like with the disciple injection, it would skip this issue that I had and would avoid taking any of the unnecessary armor damage, which I did in the third stage, as the defense ritual is mostly just monkey bombs, and you wouldn't take all that damage in that phase, making it considerably easier. However, you don't have gold armor. So my recommendation is, if you have the gobblegums to use, specifically equipment, I would recommend doing the round 100 boss fight in Cursed. If you're maybe not the best at training and avoiding getting hit as well, this is quite nice, because the golden armor would mitigate this impact, pretty much allowing the armor to regenerate and giving more attempts to move and sort of do what you need to do. If you don't have equipment though, or even support group, if you want a second chance, I would definitely recommend doing this boss fight in standard. This is because with the disciple injection strategy, you can skip the majority of the most difficult stage of the boss fight, and it's pretty much skip right to the defense step, meaning you avoid taking all that unnecessary damage. The round 100 strategy is also easy, which is nice, Knowing the pros and cons though, I would recommend you make your own decision on which version of the fight is best for you. The cursed one is harder. It is definitely harder, but it allows for more room for error and it gives you more chances to do things. Meanwhile, the standard one is easier, but you don't have as much room for error, especially when getting hit. So you pretty much need to get it right the entirety of the boss fight. But yeah. But that is the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. It was a bit of a long one today, but I really wanted to break down each part of the boss for you in both the versions so you can know which one is the best for you. I hope you did enjoy. I hope you learned something new and could take many of these own strategies on board, even if it's not for the round 100 boss, just in your standard runs. If you want to see these strategies in practice, be sure to check out my round 100 completions of this boss, both in cursed and standard, linked in the description and the top right of your screen right now. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.